Welcome back to the United Pubcast, and it is your Friday Night Pint. Larry is your host today, and I'm joined by a different face, but a reappearing face, a bearded face. It's Tom, but he's grown some hair and gotten a tan over the last 24 hours. Tom, how are you?
Oh, good, mate. It's always good to get a bit of my hair back. Those commercials, they were talking to me, so I went and tried them, and now I have a full set of hair and a beard.
Love to hear it, but this is actually my the brother. So this is the Tony Rosina, as you can see in the handle. We are the brothers. Uh, Tony, you are a United fan, for those who don't know. And I know that you are doing bits and pieces in the Australian sports world, so we will get to that. But like I said, it is the Friday Night Pint. So if you haven't been here before, to talk you through a little bit of what the Friday Night Pint is, we talk about all things United. We will review today's match, but it's a little bit more relaxed. So just you take the edge off, and we're generally joined by an alcoholic beverage. So I won't be joining in on the alcohol tonight because I'm not feeling too best. I've got just enough energy in me to host this video, but Tony's doing the honors. He's got the rum and coke. Is it rum and coke or scotch and coke? What's the drink of
Scotch
choice
and
today?
coke.
Scotch
We've
and
got the
coke. Good
Scotch and
man.
coke.
What kind of scotch?
It's a bit of Johnny Walker.
Johnny Walker. Okay, good stuff. I like Johnny Walker. But nonetheless, what I don't like was United's result from this morning. Mate, talk to me about the match. Obviously, United lose in controversial circumstances, it has to be said. 1-0 to Real Sociedad at home. United go with a rotated side. I want to ask you, before we get into the actual performance, the 11, any surprises for you?
For me, I think the biggest surprise was obviously we brought in a keeper on loan. I thought he was going to get the nod over De Gea, and then obviously the next one would have been Christian Eriksen. He's been running his heart out since he's come to United. I thought maybe he was due a break so we can have him go crazy in the Premier League. So probably Eriksen's a big standout for me.
Yeah, I'm with you, mate. I got to say, it was quite a surprise to see him selected. And obviously, not because of his performances. He's been brilliant for United this season. But it has to say, massive disappointment for me. And reason I say disappointment is because with the Premier League, now we'll get into the Premier League fixtures because there is some emerging news on that front. But I just thought, with an eye to Sunday night, how could you start Ericsson again? In saying that, I thought he was comfortably our best player on the pitch in the first half. Um, can I talk to you about the actual? Well, we'll go into individual performances, but I hate it. I hate to do it. We have to go on to the goal. Real Sociedad, the penalty. Lissandro Martinez comes on. He's attacking. I thought he was. You could even argue he was United's best player. And Tony, you will get the honors of the 3-2-1s today. So I hope you're excited for that. But Martinez comes on in the second half. He's having a good performance. He clears the ball off his thigh, which bounces onto his elbow, and somehow it's ruled a penalty. Now, if that wasn't baffling enough, firstly, I don't know how the referee gets to that decision. And then it gets even more comical. You have someone who has the benefit of technology who can play replay after replay, and they stick with the same decision. Please explain this to me.
Oh, listen, there's no explanation. There's no way there's a penalty. I think you put on Twitter, if that's a penalty, the game of football's dead. He slides in. I can kind of argue the referee might get that wrong. He might have missed a deflection, but like you said, for someone sitting up in the box, watching the game in 8K, watching the replay, there's no way you should be getting that wrong. It's not a penalty any day of the week.
It was just an awful decision. I can't get it. But we will get into the actual performance. And Tom, my co-host, is saying it is official. The games for this week have been postponed. Um, okay, firstly, can we just, because it's Friday night, because we are normally having alcohol and we're feeling a bit sad and sorry for ourselves. Okay, with all due respect to the Queen, full condolences, genuinely, to the royal family, full condolences. To postpone the football, I think it would actually bring the nation together to keep the events going. I don't really understand. I believe the UK are going into a 14 days of mourning. Um, I just I don't get I don't understand the benefit of this. But I don't want to get into politics. This isn't a political show. But let's talk about the actual performances with Real Sociedad. Talk about the obvious ones, and I actually want to start on Casemiro. So please get your comments in on this as well. I don't like to gauge social media, Tony, in terms of feedback for how a player is performing, because we know that unless you're doing five step overs, you're a bad performer. But I thought Casemiro's performance was quite underwhelming. He looked off the pace. He looked a bit clunky. What did you make of the Brazilian's performance?
I think obviously, first of all, if you go on Twitter and you're trying to look at a player's performance, that price tag comes into it. So he's going to cop it even more when you go onto social media. But with his performance, yes, he was clunky. He should have equalized. He missed that header. But for me, you look at the players that are around him. You had Christian Eriksen obviously high. You had Fred, who obviously had a howler as well, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you've got players around you that aren't giving you options, aren't moving into space, you've got a striker who we'll get into who's not allowing too much movement up top, you're going to struggle as a defensive midfielder. And yes, he's a great player, but he's going to have these games, and we just hope that he bounces back.
On United's performance as a whole, and I think this will tie into what you said going into Fred. My criticism of United was it was all just a bit too slow, wasn't it? The ball wasn't moving very fast from back to front. That was an obvious blemish in United's game. And then I would then say a major part of that was Fred. Let me ask you this. From one Brazilian midfielder to the other, without going over the top, is there a chance that Erik ten Hag red stamps Fred? Is there a chance he looks at him, he looks at his player contract and he says, you know what, unless there is a major midfield crisis, I can't have this guy in my midfield anymore. I just thought he was an atrocity, mate. Every time he gets the ball's bouncing off his shins, bouncing off his feet. He doesn't read the game well defensively. He works hard. So explain to me, give me your interpretation. Why was Fred in the starting lineup? And do you think that in terms of his United career, what do you think this performance means? Because he obviously hasn't been playing a lot of football.
I mean, obviously, this was a chance for him to step up and try and prove to Eric that he deserves to be in that lineup, or he deserves to be playing more minutes. Obviously, he's had an absolute shocker. You've had McTominay, who he gets a lot of criticism. He's been playing a lot better than what Fred played today. So when you're looking at the rotation, you're going to have obviously him. You're going to have Casemiro. You're going to have Bruno. You're going to have Eriksen. You're going to have these other players like a Rashford who could play in a false nine in that attacking formation. I think Fred's falling down the line, and if it was me, I would have got rid of Fred. I would have kept Garner, but that's a discussion for another day.
Tom makes a point here, which was my next point. He played him in a number 10 role, and he did. Fred occupied quite an advanced spot on the pitch. Was he playing number 10, though, or do you think he was perhaps there to do the pressing for Ronaldo? Do you think that came into Erik ten Hag's thinking?
I mean, we saw obviously in the last game, Ronaldo does like to press, but his legs are aging. So Fred's going to go 100 miles per hour, regardless if he has the ball or not. So there was a bit of that pressing, but like Tom said there, maybe it was to keep him away from the back four, not put him under pressure.
Can we talk about Cristiano Ronaldo? I know it might almost feel boring, but we have to, right? I mean, this is the world's most famous footballer. For a strong period of time, there's an argument to say he's been not in my mind, and I'm sure in your mind, not an argument. He's been the world's best for a prolonged period of time. What did you make of his performance today? Because I thought, while the progression of the ball from back to front was quite slow, he played like someone who looked old, looked like he was off the pace, looked like he couldn't keep up with the pace of the game. What did you make of Ronaldo's performance, and what do you put his performance down to? Is it match fitness, or do you think it might be his age is actually catching up with him? Is Ronaldo human after all?
Yeah, 100%. I think his legs are starting to catch up with him. He's on the worst side of 30 at the moment. He's pushing that older, going towards 40, and I think his legs are catching up. The team moving forward was slow, but then it was kind of like let's just cross it and hope Ronaldo gets to it. So again, we've got those postponed games. We've got an international break coming up. We can just pray that either he gets his fitness in or Martial's fit by the end of that international break.
On that point you make, the players start catering to Ronaldo. They start crossing to Ronaldo or looking for Ronaldo. I did see that in the first half, particularly Eriksen's ball for Ronaldo was a great opportunity. And look, he's the only player who put the ball in the back of the net. Obviously, he was offside for it. But do you think United play worse football with Ronaldo in the starting lineup? Do you think he's actually at the point where he's actually a detriment to the side?
Yeah, I do. I think as a hindrance to this current side, we look at the goals we've scored in the weeks past. It's a quick 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're up the other side. You've got Rashford charging onto a board. There was a few times where Ronaldo went through that line today and he got caught within the space of 5-10 meters. And if you look back to the goals Rashford scored against Liverpool, against Arsenal, we need that pace up top. We need those switching forwards up top who can cut inside, go wide. And like I said, I'm going to say he's the best player of all time, but I think his legs are done for United.
Oof, big call. Tony comes on, first time in months, and he's telling us Ronaldo's finished. Tom will makes a point here. It will take his body time to get used to not playing 90 every week. It's a different type of fitness, sharpness, and mindset compared to his last 10 years. And that's a valid point. We discussed that in the last episode. The challenge for Ronaldo is it's a new challenge, one he hasn't faced before. The one of being human, facing a different challenge. And I guess you watch a lot of Serie A, so I want to make this point and get your opinion on it. If you look at someone like a Zlatan Ibrahimovic, the way Zlatan plays, a very conventional number 9, back to goal, can hold the ball up, can link others into play. Ronaldo is not that kind of striker, is he? And I just, is Ronaldo the way he is in terms of that poacher? Is he so set in the way he plays? Or is there more evolution to Ronaldo's game, do you think? Or is it about a matter of he's purely a poacher, and if he can't fit into contributing goals, then overall maybe he's just not actually going to fit into this United side?
Yeah, I think he's a goal scorer. That's what Ronaldo is. Obviously, in the days when he was younger, he had the ability to take on players. He had the ability to put a few step overs, make players look silly. But as he's got older in age, and now that he has come to United in this system, he's become that player where he will score you goals. Eventually, he will get you goals, but he's a poacher, and that's about it. He can't link up every single time, where if you put someone else up there, you've got that ability for him to receive the ball, lay it off, and get back into space. So, I mean, he'll probably still score 10, 15 goals. I hope he makes me look silly, but I think he's just a poacher at this stage.
It's sad, isn't it? It's always sad to see when you see someone who's been at the top of his game for so long. But nonetheless, it's human life. It catches up with all of us. But Tony, you will, like I said, it is going to be your honor. It is time for the 3-2-1s. We're going to look, and again, if you are new here, to explain the 3-2-1 system, it's not necessarily the best player, but who was the most impactful player in the match. So that might be out of a goal. United obviously didn't score one today, but which player you thought made the best impact, contributed the best in terms of their performance, and the best being 3 points, and then we go down to 1 point at the end of the season. We keep a tally, and you have your 3-2-1 winners. Who gets the 3 points for you? I'll give you the honors being the guest.
I can't look past Christian Eriksen. I think he was our best player on the pitch, and everything we tried to create came for Eriksen. So 3 points for him. Despite
playing half a game of football?
3 points for him. 3 points.
I struggle to disagree with you, to be honest. I think Eriksen's a perfect shot for 3 points, but get your comments in. Who would you be giving 3 points to? I'm with Tony. I think Eriksen was the best player on the pitch, comfortably, and that should really be that. But then if you're looking at 2 points and 1 point, and I always hate doing this, because particularly after a loss, it never feels good, but it was a game that United didn't deserve to lose. A fair result would have been a draw, right? In the balance of play. Like, Real Sociedad didn't look dangerous at all. Nonetheless, moving away from the penalty, I will come to Tom's comment here, though. Eriksen, the only one I can really make a claim. Thought Alenga was close to playing well, but not quite enough to make a difference. Alenga, another one. I just thought he slows the game down, just pure lack of quality. He tries hard, he works hard, he's smart, he makes the right runs, he tries to challenge the player, but again, a lack of quality there. So we'll say Eriksen for 3 points. 2 points. Tony, help me out. I'm struggling. Can I put a shout out there? I thought Martinez played well when he came on, and that penalty wasn't a penalty. He's cleared a lot of balls that were coming into the box. Again, I thought another good performance from the Argentine. I could make an argument to say he deserves 2 points.
No, you're completely right. Obviously, we were speaking in a separate inbox earlier, and the player that came to mind was obviously Eriksen's up here, Martinez was here, and then the bar goes lower. So I'm happy to give it to the Butcher, give him those 2 points, and obviously the penalty was bad luck. It wasn't a penalty, so move on, and he had a solid game nonetheless.
Love it. See, this is nice. I might need to replace term from now on. It's nice to have the brother, and then you can have the similar thought process about things. But I'm with you, mate. I think the Butcher for 2 points. But then who gets the honor of 1 point? Dion's making a claim for Malacia. Can I say on Malacia, am I the only one who's noticing this? I'm happy with his level of performance, his energy. The thing that frustrates me with him, though, it seems like he's playing a bit safe. There were so many times he gets to the byline, he's not putting the cross in. He just plays the back pass. Like, put the cross in. I want to see that attacking football from him.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, again, we look at the modern day fullback. The modern day fullback needs to be able to defend. He needs to be able to whip the crosses in. So, yes, he's not whipping those crosses in, but he's making me, when he does have Varane, Martinez, and the lot there, he's making me feel a lot safer. So, I'm going to give him the pass on that and say he's doing a good job at the moment.
Ah, good man. All right, you know what? I'm kind of split here. I think there's a case to be made for Malacia because he doesn't do anything wrong. But Tom said McNeil for making a debut. Look, I'd struggle to do that, Tom, just because I think he played all of about 5 minutes. But I think Malacia is the one. I think Malacia is probably the one. I've just had a whinge about him, but I'd say that's the way to go, just based on looking at every other performer. Can you align with Tom and say you can give a point to McNeil, or are you leaning more towards the fullback?
Listen, I'd love to side with Tom here, but like you said, I think when I give out points, it needs to be at least 10, 15 minutes plus. Again, the 1 point, there's a lot of players that were definitely below par today. You could look at Alenga, you could look at Malacia for that point. But again, arguably we should have had a clean sheet, so it goes to the defender, and I'm going to side with you on this one.
All right, I like it. Malacia is the 1 pointer. So that's 3-2-1s wrapped up. Tony, on United, like Tom said, the matches have been postponed, but I think we can take an opportunity to look ahead. So I'm just going to bring up United's fixture list because it does actually get quite busy. And the concern for me is they'll probably need to play this match before the World Cup. And in what's already such a congested fixture list, I just don't know how they'll manage to do it. So we'll Men vs Palace on Sunday. That's not going to happen. And then after that, it looks like... where are we up to? So then we've got Sheriff in the Europa League next Friday, our time. So Thursday night UK. So that will probably be United's next match. And then Leeds into Sunday. So just a 2-day turnaround there. Then there is the international break. So I don't know. Did anyone today, based on today's performance, it almost feels stupid and redundant to ask you this. Did any performances today make you think someone could force their way into the lineup? Or do you think United are pretty set on their starting 11 now?
I mean, everyone had that chance to take their spot today. And besides Eriksen, who's already in that starting lineup, no one really stood up and said, Eric, you need to pick me. So I think we'll see the same lineup we saw against Arsenal. And if anyone else wants to get in there, maybe McTominay might slide in. But if anyone wants to get in that lineup from today, they better do a lot of improving over the next 7 days because, like you said, we have one game, then we go to an international break. Who knows if we're even going to play next week if they go into that 14-day of mourning. So it could be some very hard training sessions coming up for the lads.
For sure. What did you make of Garnacho? I've been calling for him to get more game time. And just with the lack of quality in terms of Anthony Alenga, I just wonder, do you think there's an opportunity there for him to get more game time? Or do you think just given his age, because he's still 17 after all, do you think we will see him drip fed into the squad? Or do you think he will perhaps just be on the periphery? Is his position to play European games and be brought in and out of the under-23s? How do you see it going?
I think at this stage, it's going to be more of those cup games, more of those European stages. Let's see if he can earn his spot. Let's see if he can change a game in Europe now. We don't have the hardest group. This is probably one of the hardest games we're going to play. So can he step up next week against the likes of Sheriff and say, put me on your radar, let me play now? I look at players that we've debuted in the past and we've debuted and maybe a little bit young. They've got bullied. They've got injured. I think Eric is going to protect him and obviously drip feed him into the squad.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's so talented, isn't he? You look at him, he reminds me of a young Ryan Giggs. He's left-footed. He likes to play on the left wing. I like that he was trying to get on the outside of his man, and he's got the quality. He's with all due respect to Anthony Alenga, belting chant and all, but I look at someone like Garnacho, and he's got the ability. He looks like a United player. So I hope he gets to play more football. Someone made a comment on McTominay. I'll come to Emad's comment here. McTominay, first name on the team sheet. Don't kid yourselves anymore. McSauce over anyone. Mate, I got to admit, I put my hands up. McSauce absolutely killing it this season. He's playing the best football of his career. And you look at Casemiro's performance today, it's funny. What match was it? I think it was the Arsenal match. Tom was making the argument, and it wasn't an argument. I guess he was just trying to make a balanced point about Casemiro should be coming into this United side over McTominay. Based on Casemiro's performance today, his cameo against Arsenal, and what McTominay's dished up the last 3 games, McTominay's ahead of Casemiro for me.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm with Ahmed here. I'm a massive fan of Saucy. He's a brilliant player, and I think we've seen, obviously, now manager after manager put their trust in him. He needs to start. Hey, Mikolev, don't be doing that. He needs to start. He needs to obviously be in that lineup because we look like a better team moving forward when he is in that midfield.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the thing I like about Erik ten Hag, and this is where you can't throw enough respect at him. The balls to make the calls he's made. He's come in. He's dropped the club captain. And he didn't hesitate. He's kept him dropped. Ronaldo, he brings Ronaldo out of the squad, puts him on the bench, and has left him on the bench. Scott McTominay gets voted in despite having a £60 million midfield signing. He's been willing to reward performances on their merit, and that takes character. Because how many times have we sat here under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saying, why do you keep picking McFred? Why do you keep picking Harry Maguire? Why are you picking Marcus Rashford when he's in a horrible patch of form? So full credit to Erik ten Hag. I got to ask you this because I haven't had the opportunity to really ask you about the Dutchman. Is he the most comfortable you have felt with a manager since Fergie? I felt that with Solskjaer at the start, but there was a time period where under Solskjaer you had to feel like maybe it was more hope because he's a club legend and you wanted him to do well. I've as a United fan, I've never felt more comfortable with seeing the manager I see now in the dugout. There's something about the confidence of Erik ten Hag that makes you believe he will be successful.
Yeah, listen, at the stage when Mourinho took over, I was quite comfortable. I haven't felt comfortable after that until now. Now, when I say comfortable, I'm comfortable that the club's going to move in the right direction. They're going to make the signings that he wants. And we've seen at Ajax, he knows how to build a side. We've looked at the players he's brought in. He's brought in Martinez. He brought in Anthony. We saw his debut goal. He's bringing in players that are improving his squad. And yes, Casemiro might have had a bad game, but he's brought him in. He's going to mentor these young kids coming up. And I think we're in safe hands moving forward as a club.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. The final point I want to make, I will come to some comments here and then I'll make that point. Jordy, Casemiro still needs to find his feet. McTominay deserves to stay in the side with the form he's been in, playing superb. 100%, mate. Agree completely there. Looking at Emad's comment here as well. We look at what Tellez did in terms of providing competition. McTominay hasn't had that at the club. He now has a coach who can actually unlock him. This term, unlock a player. When was it? Was around 12 months ago. Someone made a comment about unlocking Fred. And I ran with it for about 6 months. I just thought it was the most ridiculous thing I ever heard in my life. But can I ask you, can someone check Fred's passport? I cannot believe that he is Brazilian. With all due respect, mate, you and I watch the A-League. There are players in the A-League who have a better first touch than Fred does.
Oh, 100%, obviously. No, go a bit further. There's players playing in the MPL, which is the second division here, with a better touch.
Oh, my God. I can't believe it, man. The ball bounces off him. Every time he touches the ball, he's seriously approaching the 2170 postcode in Sydney every time that ball hits his feet. I don't know what's going on with Fred. I don't know what he works on. I don't know who he bribed to get a 50. Man, this guy was a £50 million transfer to Manchester United. He was £10 million less than Casemiro. If you actually let that sink in, it's baffling. Who scouted this guy?
Well, I don't know, but if you're checking Fred's passport, can we check that the right Casemiro showed up today? Because he definitely wasn't the Brazilian one that I'm used to seeing.
Well, whatever Fred has in his shoes, I think he put some in his compatriot's shoes because they both were just not at the races. I look at Casemiro's cameo against Leicester? He came off the bench And United obviously had lost control of the game, and he shows his class. He's keeping the ball, and then all of a sudden he starts. Then he comes on Europa League, Real Sociedad against a side he's come up against before. Just couldn't do it. Geordie, nothing wrong with the 2170 postcode. Mate, I live in the 2170, so I'm not throwing shade. We've got some great charcoal chicken shops around the corner. If you need some advice, let me know. Got you covered. Chris, yeah, 100%, mate. We touched on this a little bit earlier. Game's called off for this weekend. And Tony and I don't really agree with it. Full condolences to the royal family, but Rob made the point earlier. If everyone else in the UK is still going to have to go to work, why can't people enjoy their entertainment on the weekend? In a time where we're such advocates for mental health and people are all about, in Australia, we just had Are You OK Day yesterday, right? And I'll say on the point that if we're about mental health, with all due respect to the Queen, one, what role does a monarch play in modern society? So this is the Friday Night Pint. So if you didn't come for a political chat, I'm really sorry, but we can go off topic here. This is what the Friday Night Pint is all about. It could be football, it could be wrestling, it could be talking about oily men, like whatever you like. All right, no topics are safe on the Friday Night Pint. Tom keeps things on script, but when I'm in control, it's all off. So I don't know what topics are going to come on next, but just put your feet up, relax, because I don't know what's going to come out next. We might get kicked off YouTube. And if that happens, Tom, I'm really sorry. But back on this point, Are You OK Day was yesterday in Australia. And that's all about being an advocate for mental health. So with all due respect to the Queen and her family, one, what role does a monarchy play in modern society? What contribution does, with all due respect, Australia doesn't stop running by being part of the Commonwealth. Canada doesn't stop running by being part of the Commonwealth. And actually, if you look into the Queen's colourful history and the times that she's been in charge and some of the countries that have gone into slavery, some of the oppression that has happened, particularly in African countries, I'm talking the likes of Ghana, I would then say, what role does a monarchy play? And then secondly, if we're all about mental health and people's well-being, watching the football on the weekend is all people have to look forward to at times. So why does society need to go on hold because someone's passed away? Someone needs to explain that to me. Sorry, I don't mean to sound heartless here. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like you said, there's some people that are struggling on the inside, and week by week, day by day, football, United, it could be another team. That's what gets them through. So I kind of understand where the country's coming from. They want to obviously pay their respects, but like you said, people are still going to go to work. The country's not going to stop, and everyone's going to stop doing everything for 10 days. So what's going to happen next week if you're supposed to support this 10-day morning, 14-day morning? Are the teams going to forfeit in the Champions League? Because there's no guarantee that Europe's going to go with it. So the Champions League game is going to go ahead. Europa League's going to go ahead. Where do you draw the line?
Well, that's the thing. They obviously they can't make a call on European games. They simply can't because it's outside UK jurisdiction. But you would have to think, because they started by calling off the EFL fixtures today. So that happened prior to United kicking off. And then the news was seeping through during the game. So I think BT, who broadcast the Real Sociedad United match in the UK, I don't know exactly what happened there, but I don't think they delayed. I'm certain they didn't broadcast the game live. They delayed their coverage because of everything that was breaking around the Queen. And now it's obviously come out that they're freezing the match. But postponing this week's matches. Please forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm running on about 4 hours sleep for over the last 3 days. So if I seem a little bit scrambled, I am. Australia doesn't need to stop running, but Parliament sure does. Mate, Parliament haven't done a thing in this country for about 10 years. Don't worry about that. We have a mid-season World Cup. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the point. And EMAD, EFL and SPL first to call game. What's SPL?
The Scottish Premier League.
Oh, yep. Yeah, that's correct. All right, here's a fun fact for you. Did you know, so when the Queen died, they called it Project Unicorn. Do you know why it was called Project Unicorn?
No idea.
So apparently, if she died in Scotland, so they had a name for, depending on where she would pass away, there was a name for each project. So I believe if she died in England, it was Tower Bridge or London Bridge or something along those lines. And then because in Scotland, it was Project Unicorn. Something about Scotland and unicorns. I don't know. Yeah, man, with the unicorn emoji. Oh, too good. Uh, Ashby probably extend the season by a week and play this round as the final round. Yeah, probably. But what else is good, Tony? The floor is yours, mate. Like it's the Friday Night Pint. We can talk about literally anything. The NRL's on. Is Penrith versus Parramatta still happening?
Yeah, Penrith and Paras playing. They took a minute silence. They did do that minute silence before the game. Sold out crowd, so that's going ahead. I think the AFL did a minute silence too. So again, we're still going ahead. I know we're not in England, but we're part of that Commonwealth. We're going ahead. You pay your respects, and each player on the field is going to give 100% and pay their respects to the Queen.
You pay your respects. We also pay our taxes to the royal family. Did you know, fun fact for you, do you know Canada don't actually pay taxes to the Commonwealth? Australia does. I know that much.
I'm moving to Canada. Now. Let's go to
Hey
Canada.
man, I'm jumping with you. Have you been in Vancouver before?
I have. I went there on a holiday when I was in America playing college football.
Did you hit the good stuff there?
We did. I mean, we can't talk about that on the Friday Night Pint, but
no, you can. It's
there.
completely legal there. You weren't doing anything illegal.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit here and there, but obviously, like I said, we were college athletes, so we do get tested over there, so we have to be careful.
Were you a college athlete?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it now. I've been back for a few years. I put on a bit of weight. My touch is a bit rusty, but hey, if Fred can get a start, maybe I'll get a start for United one day.
Maybe, mate, maybe. Be sure the games will come thick and fast after this postponement. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What are your expectations of United this season, Tony? Just looking at the signings we've made, I'd love to get your opinion on Liverpool, actually. So we'll definitely talk about that. Dion making the point, NRL finished last week because, we're Bulldogs fans. So as far as we're concerned, the NRL season's over.
Last week? Didn't that finish in round 15 when you were out of finals contention?
Oh, probably. Man, how bad are the Bulldogs? Anyway, I'll try and keep it on topic. I don't want to put our listeners, particularly the ones from overseas, to sleep. They won't even know what the Bulldogs are. But I forgot. I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
So you asked me about, obviously, United's...
what are your expectations of United this season? What is a successful season to you? But also taking into account the teams are in and around the top four.
Obviously, going into the season, I predicted us to finish around that 7th or 8th spot. I thought the likes of Chelsea, the likes of Arsenal, Tottenham, City and Liverpool, they all kind of strengthened in areas they wanted. Now, we'll speak on Liverpool in a second, but obviously Chelsea sacked their coach. They're in a bit of turmoil. So I'm going to put us in that 5th or 6th position, and I hope that we can scrape top 4, but I think it's another year of Europa football if we can't win that competition.
You think so?
Yeah, I just don't think we're going to have... We saw today the players that we have on the bench going into that lineup to play Europe. What happens if we lose 3 or 4 players during injury? What if someone picks up an injury at the World Cup? If that's what we've got coming in to fill those spots, I think we're in trouble.
But you also have to remember it was a heavily rotated side. I mean, when we talk about a side in the Premier League in terms of depth, I think if you had United's strongest 11 and then you replace McTominay with Casemiro, for example, surely the drop-off isn't as big as we saw today. I think today was a perfect example of match fitness, a fully rotated side. Because with the exception of Eriksen, no one in that lineup plays regular football. Sorry, and De Gea, of course. But no one plays regular football or has played regular football this season. So, surely, because you have to remember when United finished second and finished third and went to a Europa League final, it was on the back of, us criticizing Solskjaer, granted, but he went with the same 11 again and again and again, and he ran those players into the ground. But I'd actually argue in terms of depth, I think United look better this season than they probably did 3 years ago.
Yeah, but it's in those key areas. Like, let me throw this question back to you. We're losing Martinez, we lose Varane. What happens to that back line? Does Dalot look well? Does Malacia look as good as he's been playing? I kind of argue if you put a Maguire next to him, if you put who knows, let's get Phil Jones back on the pitch the way we're going. If we lose players in key areas, I think we're going to struggle. Like, we're still short although we're not short in the fullback, we're short of quality in that centre-back position. So that's kind of my concern, especially when obviously Martinez went off against Arsenal. I feared for the worst. I was hoping it was a cramp, but I honestly feared for the worst, thinking Maguire's coming back into this lineup.
On that point on United centre-backs, let me ask you, in Eric Ten Hag's mind, who do you think is first choice? Who's his first choice centre-back?
Varane. Oh, Martinez number one, and then Varane's in there next to him.
See, I actually think it's the other way around. And the reason I say that is just you made a really good point around Malacia and Dalot playing so well. Dalot particularly playing the best he's played in a United shirt. And, I think I think United overall need to upgrade on Dalot. I think there are better right backs who can offer a greater contribution, but relative, he's playing well. And the reason I say Varane is because I think Varane covers the deficiencies in Martinez's game, point one. Because if you think of Vidic and Rio was the better centre-back, and you'll get people who will tell you Vidic was better. Not at all. I think if you put Vidic, and this isn't to say Vidic wasn't world-class, he was brilliant, but I think if you put Vidic next to, I want to say, Wes Brown. Let's assume Wes Brown and Vidic were your Man United partnership. Vidic doesn't look anywhere near as good as he did next to Rio. And I believe that because Rio had the pace, the intelligence, the ball-playing ability to cover for Vidic to be the aggressor, to attack every ball in the air. Rio could tuck because he had the pace and he had the nous to read the game. And I think if I look at Varane and Martinez, granted different builds, I don't know if you knew this. Did you know Martinez is 5'9"? You probably didn't know. I just wanted to remind you he's 5'9".
He's definitely not the tallest player, I can tell you that much. He makes me feel better about my height every single day.
Repping those short guys. But if you think of what Rio and Vidic were, they almost play the same way. I think it's been such a long time since United had two different centre halves who complement the deficiencies in each other's game. So you've got Martinez who can be aggressive, attack the ball, be forward thinking. So if he's attacking the ball, then he's not getting isolated one-on-one with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. That'll be for Varane to deal with because he's the more sizable defender. He's the one who could, tuck in behind.
But Larry, can I just jump in there? Sorry, just quickly, Larry. I'll throw it back to you. The reason I think, obviously, Martinez is the most important fullback is we made these jokes last year when we saw Varane next to a Maguire. We were calling him Conference League Varane. We didn't get Champions League Varane. Now, we're putting him next to a player like Martinez, who, like you said, is being the aggressor, and he's bringing out that player that we signed. He's bringing that player out. So that, to me, Varane might be the better player, but Martinez is bringing it out for Varane to be that better player.
I think Varane suffered on two fronts last season. One, he couldn't stay fit. And secondly, Maguire is so bad that I don't care how good you are, he's going to make you look... Well, he would be, mate. Look, because the thing is, I don't think there is any other position on a football pitch. When you're a centre-half, you're only as good as your partner. It is the one position on the pitch, your partner can make you look 10 times better or 20 times worse because you're a partnership. It's the only position on the pitch where you can't play with one centre-back, right? So I felt like he was damned if he did, damned if he didn't. So I think Maguire, and you saw it today, he's a calamity. He's a shell of himself, Maguire. He's replaced Phil Jones in being the meme in this side. And, I don't mean to go over the top with this. But, Maguire's going to struggle to rebuild his United career, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Maguire, he's that player who we looked at him at the World Cup, we looked at him at the Euros. Now we look at him when he does come, obviously, into a side like United, and as that pressure is just getting to him. I think if Maguire's at a mid-table club, let's say he goes, I don't know, to a Crystal Palace, for example, he's going to do stuff there, and we're going to say, why isn't he doing this for United? Why did he never do this for United? Now, is he a good player? On his day, he can be. We've seen that when he does perform for England, but that expectation of playing for United I think it's too much for him. Yeah,
I'm with you, mate. I'll just come to a few comments here. Oh, I can't wait to talk about Liverpool. I do need to talk about Liverpool. Liverpool, team full of frauds and 85 million donkey up front. Salah spewing money left before him. Virgil van Dyke getting found out. Trent Alexander, world's most overrated fool. Can I just say on Liverpool, I got to say, I've never seen a fan base talk about how much or how good, or world's best Premier League's best ever side, and now Van Dijk's on the decline or struggling for form. Trent Alexander-Arnold, everyone suddenly can realize he can't defend. United fans been saying it since Rashford scored 2 against him in 2018. And I'm like, I've never seen a side go from the world's best players in every single position to, we're struggling and Klopp should go. And seriously, Liverpool fans, different breed.
I mean, it's Liverpool fans. They got a bit of a taste for victory. They thought they were the best in the world. At some stage, they probably were the best team in the world. Now, again, you say curses, whether you believe it or not. It's that 7th-year curse by Klopp. I don't think he'll get fired, but it wouldn't surprise me if he starts looking to go out the door. Like, did you catch the Liverpool game against Napoli the other day, Larry, and that defending by Trent Alexander-Arnold for that? I think it was
What
the
defending?
third goal.
Where? I didn't see any defending.
Mate, if I had my eyes closed and someone was explaining what he was doing in that play, I'd think he was the referee because, mate, the guy went nowhere near the ball and just let his player go straight past him and put the nail in the coffin.
Oh, can I ask you on Virgil van Dijk and get your comments in too? Because I'm interested about what the overall gauging opinion is here. Is he on the decline? Like, do you think has he lost a bit of pace, or do you think he's purely suffering in terms of his confidence?
I think players are starting to attack him now. There's always that crazy stat that was out there that he hadn't been drilled past in X amount of games. If you watch the way that Virgil van Dijk defends, he backs away for players and hopes that his centre-back partnership steps up and stops him. Now, we can make that same argument that he needs a stronger centre-back next to him, but since that knee injury that Pickford obviously took him out of the game with that knee injury, he hasn't looked the same since he's been back, and Liverpool have looked shaky on the means of things because Trent goes forward, Virgil's not covering him. Robertson goes forward, Virgil's not carrying him. Like, you look at Robertson, he got dropped last game. This is a player that people were trying to say is the best right back in the game, the best left back in the game. Trent looks like he should be playing right wing. Robertson's getting dropped for a young kid. So there's your answer.
And how they pick Milner every week blows my mind. He must have nudes of Klopp or something. Something strange going on there. Tom made the comment on the Maguire point. Did we actually defend that bad against Sociedad? It's not actually his defense, Tom. I wasn't concerned with his defense today. On the ball, he doesn't look assured. He slows things down. Like, we're critical of Fred for slowing things down. It starts at the centre backs too. And I thought Maguire slows things down as well. Like, his switches take about 5 minutes to find the left back. And I just think he's struggling overall. I just think his confidence isn't there, and he's got a lot of rebuilding to do to get anything that looks like a successful United career. And then Tom, again, making the point here, Virgil van Dijk and Trent believe their own hype, arrogance beyond belief. They stopped doing the basics, working hard, 100%. But I think what ties into Virgil van Dijk, like, yes, he's struggling for confidence, but the way Liverpool play, the fact that the fullbacks are so high up the pitch, if he isn't at his optimum best, where he's, can defend, give you world-class defending every single game, if he can't do that, they're exposed because, like we've already highlighted during this recording, Trent Alexander-Arnold's not a good defender. Robertson doesn't get back and forward, in the way maybe he used to. So I'm just wondering if Virgil van Dijk's not at his rampaging best, that Liverpool side will continue to ship in goals all season long. So he's got to find his form, Virgil van Dijk. And I think he can because, you don't lose world-class ability overnight. And he's been, Liverpool player or not, you can't argue with. He's been the best centre-back in the world for a good 2-3 year window.
Listen, the only thing I'm going to disagree with you there is I hope he doesn't find his form as a United fan. I hope it continues to decline and Liverpool keep falling. But yeah, like you said, for the rest, he is world class. On his day, he can make that difference in the back line. And yeah, like I said, it's a bit low on confidence, a bit of an injury, but with those fullbacks around him, man, that makes that centre-back position really hard when they're playing left and right wing.
Absolutely. On Maguire, did you notice this in the second half? His no-look switch.
All right, so obviously Larry's done something. He's obviously gone. But yeah, obviously we're talking about that no-look switch. obviously, when it comes to it.
Sorry,
Maguire
mate, I
obviously did put
kicked
that ball
myself
out.
out there.
There we go.
Yeah, I laughed so hard that I fell out of the video. So forgive me for that. But yeah, Emad, it's absolute classic. You can only live on caffeine supplements and asthma for some. You know what? This asthma thing for Liverpool, I'm telling you, I think there's something in that. There's 16 people watching live right now. If you're happy that Liverpool are on the decline, make sure you hit a like on the video. On United's result today, Tony, I said this to Tom. I don't know if we said it during the last video or if I said it off recording. I think it was off the recording. I personally couldn't care less if United don't progress beyond the group stages for the Europa League. I think the bread and butter is the Premier League. And yeah, you can talk about rotation of the squad, and it's a big squad, and there's a need to play everyone. But if I tell you what, if Ten Hag played a rotated side for every single match, and let's say we lost or we played the kids, would it bother you as a United fan? Like, you might be a bit aggrieved, but if we go on to finish third in May, surely it doesn't really bother you if we go out in the group stages in a competition that no one really cares about.
Listen, I think given the group we have, even playing our kids, I think I'll be disappointed if we don't get out of the group. Now, once we go into the knockout stage, if we were to get knocked out, you'd be pissed off, but you'd understand that he might be prioritizing the league. So finish third, get out of the groups, make a decent cup run. Because, like, man, we need silverware. Like, I know it's not always about winning silverware. It's about progressing, and you'll get there eventually. But, man, we need some silverware in that trophy cabinet soon.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it could be United's best chance to secure a trophy this season. Yeah, Dion's comment, you can only live on caffeine, subs, and asthma for so long. Yeah, definitely. There is something in that, I'll tell you. Tom, a word on Juan Mata to Galatasaray, please. A-League clubs should have been all over this looking at his wage. Yeah, Tony, did you see this? So he signed, I think it was a 1.8 or 1.9 million euros. So if I do the maths and I convert that into Australian dollars, I think we're talking about maybe 2.5 odd million Australian a year. What's the highest A-League player, foreign player, get nowadays? I would think that might be a bit out of the A-League price range.
I think the last person to get obviously that price range would have been Del Piero when he did come into the league. He was on that $2 million a season. So, I mean, to bring in a player like Juan Mata, you'd probably make the sales back. I'd be surprised to see what Nani's on, obviously at Melbourne Victory. But like Tom said, it's absolutely crazy that no A-League clubs actually went for an offer because, I mean, I tweeted out saying they should sign him and the Wanderers liked it. And I think it was a bit of a tease because they didn't go and sign him afterwards. I'm a bit disappointed.
I think that's the issue. I think with the money in the A-League at the moment, or lack thereof, you have to remember TV money's gone out of the country as well. Like, the A-League, how much is the current TV deal? It can't be a lot because the players took a major pay cut last season.
They took the pay cut, but they did just sign a massive deal with Paramount. So I know it's in that range of, I think the whole contract's maybe about 100 to 120 million, but I think it's for about a 7 or 8 year deal. So it's nothing too impressive per season. So it's a bit scary.
120 million. I mean, when you consider the NRL, like just relative to Australian sport, how much did the NRL's last TV? I think it was a 5-year contract. I want to say it was around 2 or 3 billion. So 120 million is.
Well, hold on. Look at the AFL, the one they signed a couple of days ago. 7 years, $4.5 billion to be on free to air TV. Like, that's the difference in the league.
4.5 billion compared to 120 million. It doesn't bode well for the A-League, does it? And I think fundamentally that's the problem. So yes, Tom, in relatives of European football, only a few million. But when you're talking the A-League's money generator compared to the NRL and the AFL, Dominion League, this can't compete, unfortunately. And Del Piero is a global name. With all due respect to Juan Mata, as much as we love him and his blogs and his hugs, I don't think he's the name that Del Piero quite was.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, if he came to the A-League, we'd probably make enough money just from Tom alone. He'd be at every single game. He'd sign the membership, charge him whatever you want. But like you said, if you're not, I mean, I'd be there straight with him. I'd have that Juan Mata shirt on. I'd be there stalking him every single day. But when push comes to shove, like you said, he's not that big name that if you're not a United fan, you're not going to get excited. So they're not going to sign that marquee deal, especially with the way, like we said, the league's going downhill.
Tom, if you are watching this video, I want to get your comments in because we saw one Mata with the shaved head maybe about a month ago. Now, seeing the photo with Galatasaray today, it looks like he is growing his hair back out. So I'm sorry to let you know, Tom, one Mata does still have hair. But how do you feel about that, Tom? Do you feel like he's betrayed your trust by making you believe, he was going to commit to the Tom cut, or do you still love one? I'm keen to know.
Could we see a comeback of Tom's hair? Like maybe he's at one matter. Whatever he does, Tom's going to do. So this could be a comeback.
I think Tom's fallen in love with Eric Ten Hag. And I think the reason Tom's done that is he looked in the mirror, he looked at photos of Ten Hag, and he's like, same, different. And I think that's why he got the Eric Ten Hag flag. I think he was like, well, people could mistake this guy for me, so I'm going to ride this out. He got Eric Ten Hag signed his flag. So I think Tom's chosen his bandwagon, and I think he's put all his cards straight in the Eric Ten Hag deck.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, that was a great moment for Tom. I was happy with him. And thanks to Tom, obviously, Eric did get off the bus. He signed his fit and I got a signature from it. So maybe I might have to go bold in a couple of years and join the Tom Hag cult.
Tom Hag cult. I like that. I like the sound of that. Maybe we can have there we go. Eric Tom Hag. Tom's chosen his loyalty. Tom's all. You know what, Tom? If you're choosing now between one Mata or Eric Ten Hag, so you got the option to go to dinner with both, let us know who you'd go to dinner with. I'd be keen to know that. Emad, he looked like he'd been rescued from a Middle Eastern prison when he arrived in his Galatasaray. Oh, he had the scruffy beard and I'm going bold, but I'm not ready to accept it vibe. Oh, that's too good. Anyway, I think we've ventured enough off topic, so we will leave it there. But Tony, thank you, mate. We've pumped out 50 minutes. We've spoken football. We've spoken utter nonsense. We've spoken about the monarchy and the things that are right and wrong with it. Condolences to the Queen. I hope everyone in the comments has a great weekend. Hope you have a good weekend, my friends. Thank you for joining me.
No, of course. It's an absolute pleasure, mate. Always good to be here.
Thank you, mate. And if you are a rugby league fan, follow Tony at the Gone for 10 show YouTube channel. What's the handle for Instagram, Twitter?
It's all at Gone for 10. So it's nice and easy to remember and nice and easy to follow.
Gone for 10. I actually started that out with Tony and then...
and then he went to Europe and left me alone.
Yeah, indeed. But nonetheless, to all the legends who are watching, thank you. Make sure you do hit a like on the video. We are on 1.3 subscribers. Help us hit our next milestone of the podcast to hit 2K. So help us on the run to that 2,000 mark. Really do appreciate it. And wishing you all a good weekend. Cheers.
Peace.